Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the 10th week. Perhaps we'll come to an end shortly. Next week, 2 weeks after. And today we'll have a Korean SAT exam. And how have you hastened yourself to report to the campus? It's actually the time to begin our work has been rescheduled, so we canceled the first class this week, today, and have shared our pleasure about international trade law, 1 hour of class, especially this class you will be led to cost-effective strategies for legal research. So I expect you some class outcome that you should be able to analyze cost-effective strategies for researching policy issues, and also you will be able to apply legal research skills to policy issues. So consider this class objective, and I recommend to brief over the materials and printouts delivered in the class. So keep salient to make you competitive on your legal research. It is one point to be focused throughout your study. And I also like to introduce one article, Cost-Effective Legal Research Redux, How to Avoid Becoming the Accidental Tourist Lost in Cyberspace. This article appeared in Florida Coastal Law Review, and some very mindful librarians have explored the kind of free public website, and could have many a statement of evaluation and the strengths and weaknesses across the website, perhaps very useful to save you time and also make you retrieval in adequate scope, and also make your research economical about time and budget constraints. Actually useful, and especially his emphasis was given to the portals of governmental branches. So actually legal researcher would have many concerns to take a reference with government documents. That is partly because it is direct and primary to affect the solution, and also because the reliability and authenticity would be more ensured in any certainty compared to other public websites. So you will have many benefits to explore the portals of government website, and also the point could be sharpened if you further have thought about the reputation of public website and the quality of that website in many perspectives. And so, for example, you will be led to American Constitution Society and many professorial blogs and other influential public websites. Especially, it is exciting to see the activities of law professors about public as a public blogger. So many names in fame and influential authorities would have make a public reach to discuss the agenda and also issues now in contention and what kind of arousal to be responded. For example, you'll see some ethics in research, especially bioethics, and the one important authority would be perhaps from some public university law school, and could have a special information about the specific topic, and could enable you to merge into the views and opinions and the kind of track of a exchange in ideas and suggestions about bioethical research and law and others. So you find very interesting. Also, think about the research resources necessary to complete your final project and how concern or cost might change your approach. The point raised by Professor Descamps is a legal writing professor at George Washington University Law School, and would be a principal author of the course material you consulted so far. His idea is fairly practical. I consider very good, effective point to address your challenge from time and budget constraints. So plan first and plan 2 through plan 5 will be your situation or contingencies to adjust your scope of research or the projection of your research in due limitations, and often be pressured, as you know, from, for example, hourly charge. You know, most typical practice about time charge in law firm and others, and that would also not be irrelevant with university professors. You will have such a context of interaction involving their research grants or funds, and we also come across the name National Science Foundation and National Institute of Health, and the federal expenditure about research grant or others would diminish remarkably due to fiscal constraints. We once talked about a fiscal crisis in the United States. In any case, many funding institutions are available where we can draw advantages from private support and grant, and in some cases many minded donors to promote the science and development of society, evaluation. Actually, it also is not irrelevant with economic development. We're now talking about the creative economy, and the basis is science, of course, and technology, and the kind of a new innovative thinking. Initiative is plainly an ingredient in nowadays in capitalism. So actually one very important avenue to struggle with a stalemate of market economy, and consider also the kind of transformations about leading industry businesses. We now illustrate Bill Gates, for example, and Google's and Amazon, the kind of many online businesses and soft power are actually major power leading the contemporary global economies, and their views and opinions would be critical. Once I have encountered the publication of Google CEO, Eric Schmidt, his view is actually very succinct to raise very important perspectives in transformation of society and global economy. And perhaps a new edition is now available in Amazon. And his work is very implicating to raise your concern in understanding of contemporary global capitalism. So the lives and mode of interaction will be changed in not a progressive way. Must be said as a cataclysmic in my assessment. And in terms of cost-effective legal research, I would suggest a humble strategist, perhaps, is my personal view. Nonetheless, I also advise to exercise this strategy for the general, and I also make some compliments to raise a general thought about a transformation and your personal adaptation to kind of a new mode of a transformation. Strategy 1 will be make your activities and product as distinct from the work of general people. And the usual divisive line between professionals and lay people will now be blurred. So we could raise a legitimate question if you are a lawyer or professional legal research. We now being quick to consult with the online website and may obtain same or similar quality of a professional opinion or information. Then how do you survive this competitive society? So one point is to sharpen your expertise as a legal researcher, and perhaps it could be brought into reality by adhering strictly with the Blue Book citation, or you'll improve the legal writing skills to base your competitiveness against normal ways of engagement. So that is one possible strategy. And also in strategy 2, you will be instructed to avoid redundancy. So please keep sensitive to track your research process, and the progress should be economical. And so please keep a note through the completion of research and save your time, required for kind of absent-mindedness. So you will revisit the law library to trace the earlier material, since you research has persisted long weeks and the previous information has been forgone without any due what remains for your reference. That would be one point, for example, in strategic consideration. And also you will make sure not to be lost in the sea of a public website. So please breed your capability to evaluate various websites. So that is essential, since you may often be an accidental tourist about your interest, and might be mind risk to reduce the retrieve documents into any coherent meaning. So set of articulation and also paraphrasing, the kind of a creative approach to translate the phrase into your own words. So plagiarism would be one point to be precautioned in pursuit your research practice. The kind of concern was discussed in the last class. And please recall to address your challenges. And also you will be certainly within some kind of distinct situation and contingencies. The conditions might not be normal across various types of legal research. So please accept this situation carefully to apply different strategies. So this point is discussed precisely in the summary of the sentence pages I have introduced earlier. So please make sure you'll be well exposed to the types of situation. So I have mind to restate one illustration, for example. So what is that? And if you may put to the situation which pertains to plan cert, when you cannot or do not want to spend much time, but you are well familiar with this area. In this case, often we expect 2 or 5-day research plan. So go for the jugular and try first to find controlling primary authorities. If the statute, rule, or administrative regulation is on point, work through the steps of Plan 1 and read the cases cited in the annotations on your topic. Use Westlaw or Lexis or Digest and look for cases on point. You may get the answer right here, right now. Quickly consult the treatise or restatement as a check to make sure your results are in line with established authority. Check a clear publication, ALR, or even one or more law review articles, just to make sure there has not been a significant new change in the law in the last few months. And research other second sources, probably not enough time, but do so if you know of one specifically on point. And importantly, verify and validate your authority with Shepard or Keysight. So the kind of pattern would be especially effective to show with the situation pertaining to Plan 3. How do you assess these steps in your evaluation? I would agree generally. So please practice a different strategy in accordance with your different situation or contingencies. And the point would have some merits that I would explore in more depth, involving one specific example. So one student, about final project, would be a concern of a death penalty, so abolition of death penalty. And he specifically requested to explore the comparative view between the United States and South Korea, and also have some suggestion or insights to be investigated to advise the policymakers. So is it some neat plan? That depends on the situation or circumstances the researcher now are faced with, right? And I would make some point with a brief demonstrations about legal research. So actually, the abolition of death penalty would have been consulted by many public organizations, and of course one of contentious issue debated in the national criminal justice system, as you know. So you know the name, for example, Amnesty International, and also you will have some principal documents about Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and the United States is one signatory nation, and you will also have a scope of information about a subscription, and the treaty clause also requires the Senate to approve or not, and also consider finally with to be signed by a president. So treaty could be transformed into domestic law. Then how does the treaty have effect on the national criminal justice system? Is it actually enforceable as is in domestic litigation waters? The kind of concern has once been raised in the Constitutional Court and Supreme Court of South Korea, and this Constitution Code would have some a view to be scrupulous about this effect, as what a normative power have been recast in terms of its a character and nature. Quality is ambiguous in some sense, which would be shared by the authority of the United States. So, and also the language of a treaty is not clear to mandate any abolition of a death penalty. So, twilight zone to amenable to many diverse consequence of interpretations. Is both judicial authorities generally have denied its immediate effect in to national criminal justice system. The kind of concern would perhaps be explored in your research plan. Then you will make a point about the precise form of legal citation, blue book forms or APA style concerning legal information would come to your mind, and your learning should be made available about its use and competence. Exposure to the kind of basic research knowledge is very required in my sensibility. And also the economy of research has to be consulted, I suppose, and the assessment should be made on complex basis, so time and budget, and also your competence should meet any challenges about loss of time and others. So that is exactly the class objective we now struggle with. And one other the aspect would be demonstrated in the second session of this class, and in the third session, perhaps over 30 minutes or more, is the part to be on the last presentation. Have you participated in the symposium titled Sexual Abuse and Violence Against the Child and Disabled? It is the topic that we dealt in a symposium last night. The symposium is held regularly and on an annual basis in cooperation with a local prosecution office, and we have entertained a very pleasant time, and which is also useful academically. So we exchange our views and opinions about what actually social system and culture of Korean folks, and any points in difference or in other concern or interest from the United States. Professor Bohanian is one of close figures for department people, and his expertise is on the basis of U.S. law. So his knowledge and research was very churning to deal with many important points. His research is interdisciplinary, which is considered very fine and what actually excellent about points to attract our attention. So he is a good example in my evaluation about instructional legal research. So how does he work through the Korean sources and second sources, and also his point about secondary and primary sources drawn from scholars and court opinions, and also statute relevant to his interest in issue, is very extensive and focused to address his message. So I consider it useful, and also the kind of research is fairly special beyond the jurisprudence. So what does it mean? So I suggest its merit as very special, so exotic to make it competitive about the Korean context of research. So many tactics and skills were duly addressed to make his research effective. competitive. And the social-cultural diagnosis also aided by professors of other discipline, or the social psychology and critical legal theory from the United States source, and actually clinical psychologists would have provided some useful information to shape his backdrop of research, and background information has been neatly articulated to pertain with his final research findings. And his suggestion is also very helpful. If we now have many sources and public a request about a reform of a law, or a kind of intramural family violence and sexual abuse must be a conundrum the Korean public now are faced with. We often recognize, and we acknowledge a new development in the legislature about new bills to strengthen the to increase the penalty about incest or others. So Professor's point is very practical, and perhaps should be incorporated into new bills to specify the statistical truth in what actually the kind of a social science, including statistics and cultural studies or sociology, are actually a very powerful ingredient to support legislative activities. Typically seems important in this case, child abuse. So we may contemplate on normative response against the challenges. However, it could not be resolved entirely on the normative basis. So many initiatives or public system are prerequisite to soothe the evils, and actually great social harm in terms of a social congruence, and also the kind of social justice and social welfare. So the minor child would suffer from domestic violence and might be separated from the parents, and the kind of social harms will not be negated, certainly, and there was the potential to be reborn as new sexual abuse. And we generally have some comprehension and a personal receipt in recognition that no strangers would be usual perpetrator of sexual crimes against child or disabled. However, the statistical evidence says in opposite way. So generally, the persons in the status of trust or supervision would also be any most culprits about that crime, and the discrete approach is fairly required, though we generally agree on that suggestion, and the kind of basic understanding into the minds of Korean people have been explored with the aid of the work of social psychologists, critical legal theorists. One point is that the modern public administrators would be very generous to impart interest, concern to the marginalized people. That is very thankful However, the problem is their approach is generally not appropriate as what a principle was. A principled approach is any most effective, as we agree. However, that ambit would lack. So, what recognition of problem is thankful. However, the response is very fragmented and pursued in any disorganized way. Ad hoc deals to revamp the challenges raised occasionally, or kind of lesson have been reprimanded from the side of Professor Bohemian. So I find it very informative and if cost-effective research, since the final research findings is very expositive across the topics, but the time and budget constraint was well met as satisfactory. So must be cost effective. So I like to have some points on his work in the third part of this class. Okay, let's see in the second session of this class. Thank you for your attention.